Good afternoon. My name is Fred Brewington. I sit here with my client, Elzon Lemus, who is a young man who lives in Brentwood. He'll tell you about himself in a moment or two. But we thank the press for being here, and we thank you for getting this information out because it is important. It's important because there has been a scourge happening in the communities of color, and largely with regard to the communities of our Hispanic brothers and sisters, that cannot and should not be allowed. Should not be allowed to continue. Actually, should not be allowed to have ever existed, but it does. So what we come to today is to tell a story about what's happening across the country, but also across Long Island. That there are people, because of the color of their skin, the accent in their voice, or their ethnicity, are being targeted in a way that is reminiscent of the Third Reich, where people are being demanded to show their papers for no good reason, with no probable cause, with no reasonable suspicion, and clearly with no basis upon which to make that request. So I want to also indicate that in this situation today, you'll hear from me, you'll hear from Mr. Lemus, if we can mute our Assemblyman, please. You'll hear from Assemblyman Ramos, and then, and we're not going to say that 12 was late to the party.
You just did.
I did. How do I do that? But you're also going to hear and see video recordings of what I have called one of the best examples of why ICE shouldn't be on our streets. That there is an officer that you're going to see, an ICE agent, who is so full of himself that he can't even see the need to represent or to respect Mr. Lemus. So with that, I welcome you, and we're going to formally get started at this point. Westbury is in Nassau County. Westbury is where Mr. Lemus was subjected to abuse. He was subjected to being detained, and he was also subjected to being profiled. This is not a singular matter. He witnessed other individuals being treated like him, despite the fact that there was a statement that they were looking for somebody. It appears as though the somebody that they were looking for were people that were Hispanic. That is not looking for somebody. That is a violation of the Constitution and a violation of our laws and rights. So without hearing more from me and standing with members of the community that are here, organizations that stand for police accountability as well, and members of the Westbury community, we stand with this young man who is taking the time from his day, from his work, to be here so that other individuals know how he has suffered and continues to be victimized by something that should not have happened on June 3rd. So with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Lemus to read a statement, and we will take questions after we hear from Assemblyman Ramos and watch the video. Each of you will receive a copy of the video by email. If it has not been sent to you, it will be sent to you. There are 2 videos that will be shown, and those are being taken care of, if not now, shortly after. Sir.
Good day, everyone. My name is Elzon Lemus. I am a 23-year-old. I was born here on Long Island. I am a graduate of Brentwood High School. I am a victim. I am a victim because of my race and my ethnicity. As a young Hispanic man, I was profiled and singled out by ICE agents on June 3rd, 2025. As I was coming from my boss's house in Westbury, ICE agents stopped the car in which I was a passenger and demanded that I provided ID. When I asked my question, they weren't answering it. I was targeted as they said they were looking for someone. I did nothing wrong, and still I was singled out and detained by ICE, who did not have a warrant and did not have any reason to even question me. This has to stop. They made me turn off my phone and stop recording, and then searched me and took my belongings out of my pocket. The agents would not identify themselves and would not tell me their name and badge number. Just because I am a man of color and I am Hispanic, I was made to feel as though I was a criminal. How I was treated was wrong. ICE is bad enough. But for local police to join in on violating rights should not be allowed. I am emotionally harmed, and what they did to me can't be taken away.
With that, we're going to ask Assemblyman Ramos if we can ask, let me just say, Phaedra, can we put Assemblyman Ramos on so that his screen is large? Yep, there we are.
Let me know when it's set.
Fred, are you recording this too?
We have not recorded this.
Are you able to? If you all could record it,
yeah,
please.
could you put the record? Push the record. Yes. There you go.
Recording in progress.
Perfect. All right. Assemblyman Ramos, you are on the screen, and it's on you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Deputy Speaker of the New York State Assembly. My name is Phil Ramos. I was made aware of this incident this week, and I was given this video that was deeply disturbing, and I handed it over to Mr. Brewington because it was a clear violation of rights. I was sent this deeply disturbing video, which I urge every American to watch. In it, a Latino U.S. citizen, Elzon Lemus, is harassed by ICE officers while simply going about his day on Long Island. He was stopped without provocation, without an explanation, and without a judicial warrant. And I might add that I was a police officer for 20 years, and I understand what police can do, what they can't do, and what the rights of average citizens are. So I speak from that standpoint. The only justification offered was that he looked like someone that they were looking for. That is not law enforcement. That's racial profiling, plain and simple. Violation of civil liberties, and as a former police officer and detective with over 20 years, I know exactly what lawful policing looks like and what it does not look like, and this was not it. Under New York State law, individuals are not required to identify themselves to law enforcement unless there's probable cause for a crime. This is not Nazi Germany where somebody can walk up to you and, as in communist countries, and say, give me your papers. ICE has no such cause in this case. This isn't just wrong, it's unconstitutional. For federal agents to open up a car door without consent, search a U.S. citizen without cause, refuse to identify themselves, physically put their hands in his pocket, shut off a video that he was taking just to protect himself, this isn't public safety. This is behavior of a police state. The message to the Trump administration and ICE is this. This incident is yet another example of this administration's abusing of its power. It is an abuse of power, targeting both citizens and non-citizens. Remember, this was a U.S. citizen who committed no crime. And they are weaponizing ICE to terrorize our communities with no oversight and no accountability. Threatening a man for knowing his rights. You can watch the video and you will see what provoked this. What provoked it was the fact that this young man understood his rights. And he was told by the officer after he reclaimed his rights, well, we can do this one way or another way. We all know what that means. He was he was threatened for that. And that's a direct attack on his liberty and due process and the rule of law. Government's job is not just, the government's job is to protect our rights, not trample on them. ICE owes Mr. Lemus a public apology. The agents involved must be identified, investigated, and disciplined. Let me be clear, this is not Arizona. In New York City, we do not tolerate racial profiling, and we will not stand by while federal agents overstep their bounds. Our communities will not be bullied because of the way we look, the names we carry, or the language we speak. You know, we hear all this talk about immigration, and we hear people in a very hypocritical fashion talk about, no, this is not about anything, it's just about going by the law. You know, if people cared about the law, and if this president cared about the law, he wouldn't pardon 1,500 people who tried to overthrow our government on January 6th. So we know this is not about the law. This is about the browning of America. That's what is it about. And now they send out race soldiers, which many of these ICE agents were January 6 people who were hired by ICE to come out and inflict this violation of rights onto our people. So I'm calling for a federal civil rights investigation into this incident and a full public review of ICE's activities on Long Island. I also urge New York State Legislature to pass the New York for All Act, a critical bill that will prohibit law enforcement from acting as immigration agents and help ensure what happened to Mr. Lemus can never happen again. New York must remain a state of inclusion, fairness, and justice for all. What happened to Elzon Lemus should never happen in a democracy. We stand with him. We stand with our communities. And we stand with the Constitution. And we ask our president to do the same.
Thank you so much, Phil. Thank you so much. Ms. McDowell? Ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to show you two videos. First video recorded by Mr. Lemus. The second one recorded by the driver of the car. And we'll ask Ms. Morgan to make sure it's turned up. Hold on, let's listen.
What's up, guys?
What is this for?
What's that?
What is this for?
You look like somebody looking for.
You looking for?
Yes. I see your ID, please.
Who you looking for exactly? Because it's definitely not me. There's nobody over here.
Okay. Let me see your ID, please.
What is this for though?
Alright, this is gonna go one of two ways here. Okay. I need to see your ID. If you're not the guy I'm looking for, you're not the guy I'm looking for. Right? But we need your ID. Okay, if you don't get your ID, then we're gonna have to figure out another way to ID you. And it may not work out well for you.
Listen, I'm not holding up. I came down to
What are you doing?
I need to see your ID.
One guy stopped housing here.
So who are you actually looking for? Because it's definitely not us.
Well, listen, if it's not you, then it's not your business who we're looking for, right? If I'm looking for you, do you want me broadcasting your business to everybody else in the world? No, right?
No. Oh, you see these people? Look at these people over here. Y'all got nothing better to do, right? You got nothing better to do, right?
Let's see your ID,
Fucking
please.
bitches. I love to. You see this? Look at this. Look at this whack. Can't do nothing better in life.
Let's see your ID, please. Alright, step out of the car. You got any weapons or anything in your car?
Wow.
That's the first video. The second video, which Ms. McDowell is going to place up, is taken from a different point of view. And before we actually play that, I want you to notice, particularly for the press, of what's going on the outside of the car. This is not a singular stop. They are wholesalely stopping individuals on the street. This is not just one ICE agent who's stopping a car. This is a actual manufactured process that they're engaged in. And you can tell that because of the number of agents that are out there and the number of cars that are out there. So if you would play that, please. You can run it back to the beginning with the sound, please. Okay, thank you. Assemblyman Ramos is absolutely right. This is not America. This is not how we as Americans should have to live. This is not how this young man, as a young Hispanic man going to work at 7:30 in the morning needs to be greeted at the beginning of his day so that he has to worry about what's going to happen every time he turns the next corner. So that he has to worry about whether or not, if there's an emergency, he should even call the police, whether or not people should go to work, whether or not people should go to school. That is the fear which is being instilled into an entire community, and we have a responsibility to make sure that something is done about that. So we sit here today, we join together as a community to simply say no more. No more.
No more.
No more.
No more.
No more.
ICE, stop profiling individuals. ICE, stop terrorizing our communities. ICE, stop.
I stop.
ICE, stop.
I stop.
ICE, stop.
I stop.
Because if you don't, one of the things that you're doing is harming individuals that have done nothing wrong. That's what you did to this young man. It's not acceptable. And if it's not acceptable for him, it's not acceptable for anybody. So we'll take questions at this time. Yes, ma'am.
So can you just tell us what happened after you were taken out of, you walked out of a vehicle, and then what happened?
Yeah, so basically they took me out of the vehicle. They, as you can see in the video, he told me if I had anything that, like, that could harm him with, but I said no. He placed my hand like, you know, like this, like under arrest and stuff like that, and he started raising my arms up after that, and then I was like, can you just stop resisting? I'm like, I'm not resisting. He's like, you just gotta give me your ID and that's it, and then we'll go on about our way. From there on, he like reached into my pockets and started looking and found my ID, and they started, and then it took like 20 minutes for them to start like looking for stuff under my name and all that, and I kept asking them like, what's your name and badge number, and they were like, we're not authorized to do that. And I told them that I'm not authorized to give you my ID then if you're not going to authorize yourself. And from there on, I was just there in the van waiting for my ID, and he told me to get back in the vehicle, and I was just like, no, I want my ID back. And then from there on, he just kept ignoring me.
Let me just ask you before we get another question. When they put your hands behind your back, did they cuff you at all or no?
Yeah, they cuffed me.
So they actually took you into custody and you were detained and your liberty was taken from you.
Yeah, I felt like my rights were just like out the window, and like it's like that. It felt like I didn't have anything, you know, anymore. Like I couldn't do much now. So from there on, I just decided to stay quiet, and like, yeah. And then when they found my ID, the guy just took off the cuffs off, put me back to the van, and from there on, he just kept ignoring me whenever I kept asking.
When they put the cuffs on you, tell people in the community what you felt in your heart.
I felt like I was angry. I felt upset because it's like things that I couldn't even explain, because it's like I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just going out to work, not doing anything, not committed crimes and stuff like that. And just for me to get handcuffed and like that and held like that, it was just, I felt it was kind of upsetting, and it hurts for me to see that my Hispanic people are going through way worse than me, and it's upsetting just to see all of this going on.
Mr. Lemus, Jay Dow from Pix 11, how are you?
Oh, right.
Question for you. He said, do not resist. Did you get the impression that he was intentionally saying that while he was having his hands on you?
Yeah, so basically when he was like cuffing me and had my arms, he was basically lifting my arms up. I started like, you know, I was just holding myself because it was already to the point where like I didn't want to intimidate them or anything like that. And then he was just like, why are you resisting? I told him I'm not resisting. I'm just like, you already got my ID. There's no point for you to start raising my arm up more back.
So were you trying to keep him from raising your arm
Yeah.
up more, or were you allowing him to do what he wanted to do?
I was like stopping him to like keep him raising my hand from back.
Was that causing you any pain or discomfort?
I started feeling like, but then I just started holding myself back down. So, and then that's when he started saying like, "Why are you resisting?" And I'm like, "I'm not resisting. You're just lifting my hands up."
And I just want to remind folks in the press that an unauthorized, unlawful arrest is an unauthorized, unlawful arrest. So there's no resisting an unauthorized or unlawful arrest. Yes.
May I add also that they were inflicting pain on Mr. Lemus, inflicting pain on him, and then using that as a pretense for a possible resisting charge. And there's also a second violation of his rights, and that is that these officers actually shut off his video, something that he was doing to try and protect himself for his own safety, which is also another violation of his rights.
Right. We have a hand here.
Jacqueline State from Rolling Stone. At what point did he notice you were filming, and what was his reaction?
That's when I was like, as soon as I started filming them, I mean, like, I saw him coming, and I told my coworker, like, start filming, because, you know, we don't know. So as soon as I started filming them and showing them, one of the agents started like moving away from the camera and all that, and so I ended up just recording. As soon as he took me out of the car, I had my phone right like this, and as you can see, the phone was facing the van. He took my phone off my hand and just stopped recording, and then that's when the whole thing went down.
We had a hand over here.
I just want to ask you for the record, when he did stop you, why didn't you want to show him your ID? What was going through your mind that you decided you didn't want to give it?
I didn't want to give my ID because as soon as I saw how they were dressed, they weren't police officers. I saw that there was no. I don't have to show them my ID because I didn't commit a crime. I didn't commit anything. So, and I wasn't driving. So as a passenger, I don't need to show him that.
And we saw in the video they had police vests. Did you see HSI or ICE or any other insignia on them? So
there was at least like 6 cop cars. There was 3 in front of us, 1 in a Jeep. The rest were like 2 Fords. The other ones were like the other cop cars that were in the back. They were wearing ICE vests, and then the other ones was HSI, I meant. And then from there on, that's all I saw.
So there were Nassau cops there too?
Nassau cops. As soon as no, I didn't see no Nassau cops. Yeah,
part of the concern is, and we're gonna come right over to you. Part of the concern is that right now Nassau has an agreement with ICE to cooperate and to engage in this, and that's a big concern because if Nassau County taxpayers are going to pay for this type of abuse, that is unacceptable. That's unacceptable, sir.
Andrew Enger with Newsday TV. Mr. Lemus, you've watched the news. You've seen what's happened to people who have been arrested by ICE. They've been taken out of the country. Yeah. Did that go through your mind when this was all happening? You were sitting there being detained?
Yeah, I was a little scared and stuff like that. I was kind of scared, but I was trying to be positive because I know there's families out there going through worse, and it's upsetting. Like, yeah, I was feeling scared, honestly, because, you know, everybody doesn't want to go out now, including Brentwood. The roads are empty. It's crazy right now. Like, it's like, you know.
And just to follow up, did you get your ID back?
Yeah, he gave my ID back. Then from there they just left without anything, without saying anything. They just left like they just left pretty upset because they couldn't take us. You know, me and my coworker, we were fine.
We got a hand here, and then we'll come right back over here.
Me? Yeah, sorry, John Diaz with CBS. I have a couple questions just for clarifications. You were born and raised on Long Island, you said, right? So
yeah.
you're a U.S. citizen. Where do you work? You keep saying you're going to work. What do you do for a living?
I'm an electrician. I work in this company for years. Yeah.
And then also, I actually just got a non-statement back from the Nassau County Police Department, and they said we're not going to give any response to this time of what we're talking about. They're saying we should reach out to ICE. So what is your thoughts about them not responding to this? This is Nassau County Police.
First of all, we know ICE ain't nice. And second of all, Nassau County, stop being cowards. You can't hide behind no comment when citizens, people that live here, when residents of Nassau County are raising questions about why are you going to allow ICE to do what you can't do and shouldn't be able to do, and then abuse entire communities. This is Nassau County Pat Ryder, I'm calling you out. Meet me in the middle of the highway someplace and I'll debate you on this. Because what you need to do is understand that you can't get results by terrorizing communities. And by reigning terror and allowing ICE to do whatever they want to do, you are abdicating your responsibility to the community. That is unacceptable. We had a hand here and then come right back to you. Well, you got it.
Okay. Mr. Lemus, as an American citizen, right, you were born here, you were raised here. How did it make you feel when this agent was barking at you for your ID and questioning your ability to, exist here?
Tell them what's in your heart.
Honestly, it didn't feel right. Like, I felt like, I just felt like I had, honestly, it was heartbreaking. That's like, it just sucked at the moment. Like, I just really, like, I was very angry because mind you, it was early in the morning and I wasn't in the mood for dealing with any of these people. And what kind of sucks about it is that they said that they're looking for criminals, but in reality, they're the ones that are criminals. They're the ones that are breaking the laws and all that. And it's not fair for all of the Latin community. It's not fair for all of us. It's just heartbreaking.
Mr. Lemus, so you have been watching the news. You mentioned that you're aware of everything that's happening within the community. Did you feel like in that moment your U.S. citizenship, the fact that you were born here, was going to offer you any kind of protection during that stop?
No, I felt like at that point it felt like I wasn't, like I lost all rights when they pulled me over and all that. I felt like I had nothing anymore. It felt like they stripped my rights. It's like I was just honestly like shocked. To the point where like I can't even explain how I feel right now on that.
Yes.
Wait, another question. Mr. Lemus, you said that after this happened to you, right, you noticed that these same agents or possibly other agents were doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Can you explain that?
Yeah, and give them as much detail as you can about what you observed.
So, as soon as the whole situation happened, the next day I saw on the media that those same ICE agents apparently arrested like six individuals at a restaurant, same exact people. And I showed my coworker. I'm like, aren't these the same people that were trying to get us? And he was like, yeah. So it's pretty bad right now on the way there.
And on that day, were you the only ones they were questioning and stopping?
No, I doubt it. They pulled over my boss. We all went our separate ways going to our job site, and I called my boss to let him know the situation, and he also told me that he was also pulled over.
Is he a Hispanic man?
He's a Hispanic guy. Man. He's a Hispanic man.
What street is this on?
Yeah, where in Westbury did this happen?
Oh, in Newton Street.
Near Newton Street, by Union
Avenue.
Union Avenue.
On Newton, near Union.
The person driving the car, he's also Hispanic, does he know?
Yeah, he's a Hispanic Latino.
Let's answer this question first. Did you get stopped on Union?
Yeah, on Union.
A block or so from Newton, not at the cross street, but a block or so away from Newton.
Away from there, like at least a good, like 30-second, like from the house to where we were already, because we saw the ICE agents' cars parked in front of my boss's house, but we didn't think much. We thought they were like cops just like hanging around or something like that. As soon as we left the driveway with the van, we just got pulled over like in 25 seconds.
Was the van marked?
The van wasn't marked. It was just brand new
Were
van.
any of the vehicles marked?
No.
Your work van unmarked.
Yeah, the work van was unmarked, including their vehicles.
It's apparently a new van?
Yeah, a new van.
So you were stopped near the train station?
From the train station? Nah, not from the train station.
Fred, I have a question, and maybe you can help the community better understand this. If, well, I guess they weren't police, they were ICE agents. Do they have a right to ask you for your identification?
With a basis. They can't randomly, on a hunch, stopping people. That's contrary to the Constitution. It's also contrary to what we would consider to be appropriate for the communities. Can you imagine the fear if you're just walking down the street doing absolutely nothing, as did happen in this case, and then you're stopped and say, "Show me your papers"? We've heard those lines before. We've seen that historically in the world. We will not go back. And the community stands shoulder to shoulder against that, because if we start allowing ourselves to go back, fascism is going to abound.
That's right.
That's not who we are, that's not who we agree to be, and that's not what we're going to agree to. Yes, sir.
Fred, let's drill down on that a bit. When you say basis, probable cause, but for the people who are out in the community who are worried about how they should be handling themselves, whether or not the officer has basis or a probable cause, that's usually determined after the fact. But in that moment, if that officer who is not marked and you think it's an ICE officer and they say, "Show me your ID," are you allowed to refuse them, in your opinion?
Well,
as opposed to a local officer giving you a lawful order.
First, I just want to say I'm not giving legal advice to anybody. But I want to be real clear that unless there is an articulable basis upon which there is a reason to ask someone for their identification, which this officer did not provide upon a request, there's a concern there. And we all need to be concerned, because this was a pretextual, unsupported reason to stop. How do we know that? Because in this situation, when asked the question of who you're looking for or what's going on, they did not give any information and did not provide information to a reasonable question. There's a level of being reasonable in this situation. And what we saw was an unreasonable caricature of a police officer. And I'll just tell you, the bubble gum, the vest, the dark glasses, it couldn't be more profiled in that regard. It's just upsetting. And so in a situation like this person who wants to make himself look as though he can be menacing with the vest on and the posturing, we need people who understand that rights are rights, and you just don't get a chance to take them away.
Fred, the Assemblyman has
May I add, from the perspective of a former police officer?
Sure, go ahead.
A basic American right is that we have a freedom of movement, and we have a right not to be detained unless we have committed a crime. If a police officer stops anybody and you have not committed a crime, you have an absolute right to say, "Officer, if I've committed a crime, arrest me. If not, I have nothing else to say to you." You are within your rights, and in this country, you should not, constitutionally, you should not get punished for asserting your rights. This was a random racial profiling in a country where young people of color get killed by police left and right. Young people have a reason to feel nervous and a reason not to engage. And all that we saw here was a resentment towards this young man because he knew his rights. A U.S. citizen, we're talking a U.S. citizen. And, you know, every person of color who has children has to have that conversation with their child about the dangers of when they get pulled over by an officer. And in this case, they had no right to pull him over, to stop him. He was a passenger. He has no obligation to give ID. And all that I saw also did not have a right to forcibly open up a door, put his hand through the window, extract somebody physically, put them in cuffs, go into their pockets, shut off their cell phone. There's one violation after another of his human rights and civil rights, and it was totally unconstitutional.
Assemblyman, what does the law say about how all of that applies to a federal officer, a federal agent?
The Constitution applies to all police officers, all elected officials, every level of government, and every citizen of the United States. We cannot violate the Constitution.
And I just want to just be clear. I mean, I know there's some other questions, and if other folks have questions, we're going to get to those as well. This could have ended up real bad. This could have ended up real wrong, because this officer had such an edge on him that all it would have taken was just a little flash for that spark to take place. And then instead of having a press conference, and I hate to say this, we'd be attending a funeral. That's the danger, Mr. Blakeman. That's the danger, Mr. Ryder, of you cooperating and allowing citizens to be abused in the way that this young man was abused. You're allowing that. And if indeed Nassau is going to cooperate with ICE, we need to clearly have a discussion about that before you just simply say yes. There's a question?
There's been some recent reporting that tax-based leadership has done two things. They've increased quotas for officers to meet, and then they've also said to officers to be creative about how they get people to get collateral, so-called collateral arrest, to sort of find people along the way. Do you think that those top-down directives is a structural problem, that those are going to increase this type of incident more often, the racial profiling?
I do agree that quotas and the like are going to increase institutional abuses that are going on and that continue to go on. But the other thing that is clear, that right now we know that based on this event, that ICE and the current administration are liars. We need to say that. Because Mr. Blakeman, the gentleman at 600 Pennsylvania Avenue, has indicated that they're only going after individuals who are criminal or have broken any laws. It ain't so. Because what they did to this young man, they're doing to many young people and other people across the communities, and they're liars. And I'm calling you a liar. Every one of you that said that, because the proof is in the pudding. And what this is clearly an abuse.
Will Nassau be named in the suit?
We don't know who's going to be named in the suit. We're looking at all the legal options, but one of the things we really know is that what we need, particularly from the legislature, is the passage of New York for all. Because to make sure that police departments across Nassau, Suffolk, Sussex, all the way, Westchester, everybody, does not endorse the abuses that ICE is engaging in. Yes, sir.
Mr. Blakeman and Mr. Ryder said yesterday that ICE would not be going into schools, that police would not be going into schools for immigration raids. Mr. Blakeman originally said that these would not be immigration raids, but targeted enforcement. Does that bring any sort of answer to any of these questions, or do you think
it doesn't? And it reminds me of something that was quoted by a great American philosopher. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Don't tell me one thing and then allow other things to happen and take no action. Mr. Blakeman, if you want people to believe you, stop trying to sell them a used car. Bring the reality to us. Stop that. Go ahead.
I should note that the taxpayers out there should know that when the local police departments lend themselves to help ICE while violations of rights are occurring, that exposes those police departments to lawsuits of which the taxpayers of Nassau County or whatever county is cooperating will be susceptible to have to pay those millions of dollars through their tax money because of the cooperation of the police department with ICE, who is violating rights. So it exposes your average taxpayer. Those who think they don't have a skin in the game, they do.
And today I did speak to Congressman Swazi, who said that he was happy that this information was being put out there. We've gotten a text back from Congresswoman Gillen, who has indicated that she wants more information about this. So I'd encourage you also to speak to those individuals who represent us in Congress, because voices need to be raised from Albany to Washington and back. Other questions?
Thank you.
From the press.
Sorry.
Yes. How long were you unlawfully detained for?
I was detained for like at least like 20 to 25 minutes or so. 30. Yeah, something like that.
20 to 25 minutes?
Yeah, like what do you mean by detained though? Like
from the time that they stopped you to the time they let you go?
It was like at least an hour.
At least an hour?
At least an hour, yeah.
But 20 to 25 minutes in handcuffs?
Yeah, yeah.
So could you just like sum that all up one more time so I understand it?
So basically I was detained, like me and my coworker detained, we were pulled over for like at least a good hour. Like a good hour and something. And then me in handcuffs were like at least like 20 to 25 minutes.
And you were late to your job that you had to
Yeah,
go
we
to,
were
right?
late. We had to go for.
Thank you.
Okay,
Fred,
thank
at
you.
this point, is there any indication Nassau police were involved in this stuff?
We don't know yet, but we are calling for an investigation of this by the U.S. Justice Department. We're calling for an investigation of this by the Nassau County Police Department, and we're calling for a formal declaration from the U.S. government on who these officers were and the background and historical disciplinary record of these officers that were involved here. And we want that made public because we need to know. Full disclosure helps to cure a whole lot of infection.
And is there a legal process to compel that information?
We will be making FOIL requests as well, but we shouldn't have to go through that process. This is one that's real clear. The video is clear. This officer didn't give information that supported what they did, and the release of this young man also shows that his rights were violated. If we have to go through it, we'll go through that. But what they want to do right now is make it more difficult for people to exercise their rights. And when they pin that document called the Constitution, that was not their intent.
Thank you.
And you're from Brentwood, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm from Brentwood.
You live there now?
Yeah, I still live there. Yeah.
In Spanish.
Yeah, do you,
See?
yes, could you say some words in Spanish about what happened to you?
So, yo estaba yendo para el trabajo. Estaba yendo para el trabajo con mi compañero. De repente solo veo que la inmigración nos paró y nos dijo que tenían que dar identificaciones de lo que sea prueba. Yo no le quería dar la prueba, pero ellos me estaban diciendo que lo tengo que dar porque tengo dos opciones, que se lo doy o voy a ir a cárcel. A ese momento nunca se lo di, pero ya después cuando me sacaron del carro, ellos me pusieron en handcuffs y ellos me sacaron el ID de mi bolsa y yo estaba tomando también video y también pararon de grabar, me agarraron el teléfono y me pararon de grabar. Después de ahí estaba como ahí como por 20 minutos arrestado por nada y desde cuando ya me dieron el ID back, a ellos no me dijeron nada, sino que ellos se fueron sin decir nada y yo estaba bien triste y enojado también porque no está bueno como ellos están haciendo las cosas.